What is this shift? Whenever we want to officially start, you just let me know. And we never recorded the end.
My computer died, and I was like, oh no. Well, they'll have to
Oh
do it without
yeah.
me. I have no excuse this time. I am plugged into all the things. Selma, I like yours where it's just like it feels like she's got this worry, and like there's these two people whispering in her ear, making it like decisions confusing or making her confused on what life like what's going on in life.
Mhm.
Because of the droopy flowers, to me it looks like grief because there's droopy white flowers that make me think that she's grieving. And it's time for her to just listen and not do anything else with any of it. Not with what she's grieving, not with what is being said. Not like it's not important, but it's listening time. That's what made me think it was about grieving.
I think it's that sort of like because the four is of stability. So it's almost like you've been in your stability so long. It's almost like you're tired of it. You're ready for change. You're tired of the old same old gossip and conversations and things people say. It's time to shake things up.
I like that.
When you call it stability, I think of balance because it's four. And I also got the cups are full of tears, and that's a done deal. They're done.
Looks like they're full of God pee. That's yellow.
That's the gold coming through.
Weren't
God
I
pee would be the
guess.
blessing. Okay, I accept 4 cups of God
you
pee.
weren't you guys at one point talking about God's golden showers?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Remember?
EJ that brought the
God's
golden
pee.
showers to the calls. Solma brings it sometimes too. It's
Yeah.
like they do it without it's the golden mist, the golden showers,
The golden light
and I'm
showering
and I'm
upon
the one
you.
that's like, okay, tell me when you're
Phrasing.
done. I can't hear the magic in it. I love the order that this is in because you've got Elias's card on top, and look at how like on top it is.
Yeah. I really like his card. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of
Wow.
like there's an army in the background, like ready to march with him.
the soldado,
Oh yeah.
perhaps.
Nine of Wands.
How perfect. You got an extra soldier underneath that who's
Yeah.
Right, reluctant, very
a
reluctant.
reluctant soldier.
Let's see a
All right,
reluctant
let's do
one.
this. I know we're gonna win already. Have you seen what's on top of me? It's like taking for granted how easy this win is gonna be. It's like, am I even necessary? It's like there's so much support in this. And then you go to the Earth Keepers, and this fight is for the Earth, the Queen of Pentacles. About to drop that coin in that God's P. It's like, listen, I've been watching this, taking care of it for you. It looks all messy, but don't you worry. It also reminds me a little bit of the Hermit card. You know how it looks like it's like really stable, but on top of all of this, like what looks unstable, but it's so solid, it's so stable that you can take it for granted.
It's 11:11. Make a wish.
I was just kind of going through a range of different things as you were talking. But with the Four of Cups, I see like that kind of foundation that you were just talking about. Like it's got the six pillars in the background with the stone roof on the top. And it's the contrast, like the woman in the white dress is being whispered to by great contrast, black creeping like slow, dark, and also red, vibrant and bright and moving, more of an action feeling. And then yeah, the Earthkeeper, like beauty in the chaos, everything coming together cohesively to be seen. And then yeah, the soldier, I said reluctant at first, but yeah, now that I'm looking at it again, it is almost like really, I really have to do this. It had to come to this. And then with the Nine of Wands, I see triumph and victory. It's regal and majestic. And I see kind of another image in there. It actually took me a few minutes to recognize kind of like the almost like battle image, of like soldiers are coming together like that. But at first, I saw a figure and it almost looked like it was like praying or like looking down in gratitude at something. And then it took me a while to realize that wasn't a hand and a face.
Mm.
So yeah, I guess overall I would say like we are digging into the shadows in ourselves and collectively as human beings. And it's messy and it's really tumultuous sometimes. And yet, like how we are guided and protected. And there is more going on that we are called to see and speak on and then collectively move on, which I would say, this, we are doing it right now. Speaking on those things and then collectively moving and going out.
That reminded me of the house that we were talking about.
That I will say that really hit me. Like the information was there, but after that conversation, it really kind of put it into action for me. How am I decorating my house? How am I showing gratitude for this beautiful vessel that I've been given and the environment that I'm able to interact with, even if it's not what I want and how I want it to look. And yet, who keeps it from being how I want it to look? It's, this is my space. And yeah, so I've been on like a cleaning frenzy and just it's really been awesome. It like lit a fire in me. So, and what did it say to you? Like, what is that? How does that story come through for you?
Well, like we were talking about the story that this is a co-creation. It's like this a story we already know. That's why we're like, almost tired of hearing it. And that's sort of the thing that, I've been going through of like, I know how to do this. I know what I should be doing. And for some reason, and I hear all the information and I know all of it and I do all of it. And still things look, I know it's time for change. I know that no longer works for where I'm going, for what I'm trying to build. That's why I don't have the rest of the house here.
Mm.
So it's like wanting to rely on that support that's above wherever I'm sitting, lean on it. It's gonna pour down like so much that I can take it for granted. And what's above is freaking, I love the energy that we're bringing into this call. There's so much certainty for me here. Like in the face of all this chaos, there's a lot of certainty.
Um, I had that just the other day when I was, so I drove to California with a friend and then I flew back. And then a couple days later, I drove out there and I just, being unemployed, I just decided I didn't want to pay for a cab. I didn't want to call a ride. I just decided I was going to walk home from the airport. I was going to take the light rail and walk home. It's about a mile. It was dark. And obviously my family is like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. That's crazy. But I was just like, it's not that far. It's nice. It's easy. And it was just one of the best, safest, easiest walks. And I say this just because like there was no anyone that walks anywhere, like you will have these moments where you enter a crosswalk and the car has to like stop abruptly because they weren't paying attention or all these things happen. And as I crossed like the final intersection, like the final big intersection to get home, I heard as loud as day, I am divinely guided and protected. Like as long as I am reasonably safe and I listened to those voices, right? To me, the voice said, yeah, go home. It's no problem. Walk home. It's no problem. And in that moment, I was like, I just like when David entered the pit of the lions, as long as you go in with the right energy and like, okay, this is the situation that's here. I know I have this higher protection. You change how you move, and that also changes how everything around you behaves too, which that's nice to hear you guys say that because I was like that. I felt really full of myself thinking that I would be divinely guided and protected. But I was like,
Yeah.
I think we all are.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, who else are you supposed to be full of?
That's that's a good point. That's a good point.
Can we start the podcast?
Yeah.
'Cause I love that story. Like, I feel like we're getting into things that they're fun.
The more we talk, the more our conversation like triggers thoughts, I guess, for each of
Yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah. All
I
right,
mean,
you
we
get
can
ready?
always just put this in anywhere too. I can move it.
You've been
I'm the
before me.
editor. I have the
Yeah.
power.
Power.
I got the power.
Da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Welcome to Shift Hit the Fan.
Welcome, welcome, shifties.
Welcome. Welcome.
We've got a full
Glad
house
to.
today. New friends. We've got Steven. We've got Daniela, who came back from last week because it was so exciting and so thrilling. She couldn't wait to come back. Whee! And Steven, we also had a magical conversation last night, and it just comes out of our regular conversations, our updates, what's going on. So, well, here's the thoughts that I've been having. What do you think of this? And it just goes into, and that's what I feel like this is becoming more and more of, like, especially the more people we bring into this. And I really hope y'all keep coming back to this because I'm loving the vibe. But yeah, we've each got a card. I pulled one for Steven, and then everybody's got their card, and it's all in the Discord. We'll put that information in what's it called?
Discord.
The
Description.
copy description. That's the thanks. Somebody's gonna have words that I'm not having. So let's do this thing.
I want to make a quick shout out to Steven. Steven is from, actually, I haven't actually experienced your stuff. I hope to experience what you're doing. But Steven is what would you call yourself?
Beyond quantum healing.
Yeah, like a practitioner or guide.
Cool.
Mhm.
So going into the quantum realm and bringing out some subconscious type things and helping people explore those in their mind.
Mhm.
We've had some really cool stories come out of some of our community members, and so anybody listening, you're interested in what Steven's doing,
Yeah.
go check him out.
Yeah, we'll put that definitely in the description as well. Put Steven's stuff. Yeah, anybody who works with Steven is raving about Steven. Like, oh my gosh. I had to track him down one day because one of our friends was like, "Where's Steven? I need Steven. I need to have another."
And I mean, that's really the awesome thing is it's not really me, it's giving us a different way to process and view the stories we tell ourselves and the things that we're holding on to and where our soul has been and experienced in the past. And it just kind of brings it to light in a different way. And, so I am surprised and I am growing from these sessions as much as anybody else. They're amazing. And yeah, it just shows that we are all connected. We're all telling a part of our story in the collective world here, physical world here.
I kind of like to think so. A lot of people talk about the infinite multiverse, right? But we already are in that. Not only is yourself that, I think every cell is its own individual universe, but each of us is our own little universe. So when we talk to people and things trigger these thoughts and I don't know, they're like, oh, I've had this. It's because we're all the same person. We're all living the same life. We're just different variations of it through different time, different colors, different shades, different tones. But it's all because we are one. We are just the universe experiencing itself through infinite, I guess, different individual entities. What you said, Stephen, about cleaning your apartment and caring about your home. I recently was having those same thoughts, but about like my physical vessel, which it's funny to me because I've always been very obsessively clean and neat. That's where my anxiety manifests in my physical surroundings. Like things have to be very organized and clean and neat. But for myself, my physical self, I think I've had this really it's a self-hatred thing. It's a self-disgust. It's not liking myself. I recently started speaking these things out loud and trying to work on them. And I started exercising and like I kind of resented my physical appearance. And sometimes I still do. And I'm working on letting that go because I didn't want to be fit because it attracts attention. I don't want to get dressed up because it attracts attention. And I reject it. I hate it. I hate myself a lot of the time. And so the other day when I got home and my apartment was a mess, I left my window open so my cat could come in and out. And he loves to lay outside in the filth and then brings it all in here. So it was just really dusty. There was a lot of leaves inside, a lot of that I had to clean up. And as I was cleaning, I was like, I love having my apartment clean. I love taking pride in it. And I like that it's cute and pretty and can be inviting. Why don't I apply that same thought to myself? You know, care about myself. And it's not only just for appearance sake, but for my self-love sake. Like, you know, I used to enjoy doing cute hairstyles or wearing different colors, and for years, like for almost a decade now, I've just been no makeup, no grooming, very gray and darks, and just it was like insulation. I was protecting myself and kind of slowly stepping out of it now and doing all these things. I was like, what you were doing, I guess, wasn't wrong, but you were doing it for the wrong reasons. You shouldn't have this, I don't know, this self dislike, this self hate kind of, it kills you. It kills you. Like you think you're protecting yourself from the world, but you're also kind of, you're closing yourself off from sunlight. You're closing yourself off from water, from communicating, from connecting with others. So it's important that we take care and pride in our homes. And your body is your first home. Your apartment is your next home. Your family is your other home. Your friends, like, and I am now starting to realize the value in cultivating that. I don't know, that relationship towards things, which just talking about your apartment triggered all that over here.
Oof.
Well,
Yeah.
if you think about how you started that though, Daniela, you're saying that we're all one. What you're saying about yourself, you're saying about the rest of us.
I know, I'm sorry.
Oh,
We're
I
beautiful. Look
feel
at
it.
us.
Yeah.
You are, and I don't hate you guys either. I'm sorry for saying that.
No, not
Can I just
sorry.
jump in and say, oh, I apologize. I just want to say I relate to that. I spent a lot of my life in that feeling, and like really just in the last 2 years or so started realizing just how like built on trauma and abuse and all these things that was those defense mechanisms and that shutting myself down and closing myself off. So it really, yeah, what you just said was amazing. That just like is spot on. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I
Yes.
do. The trauma thing is, that's kind of, I think, the hard part about deciding to shine light where you haven't before. It's that, because I am starting to ask these questions. Why do I hate myself? Why do I think I'm not worthy of existing? Why am I in this mindset? And how did I get here and how can I get out, you know? And I think that's the reason that I stay in that we stay in those mindsets, because dealing with those questions is brutally painful, extremely
Well,
difficult.
it's in the collective. We're all suffering right now.
Yeah.
You know, you're feeling all of our stuff, and there's a lot of hatred, a lot of people not aware that we're one, that we're all connected.
Yeah, we see it in politics everywhere right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the damage that they're doing to us, to us as a collective, the
That
house.
we're doing to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was writing about that the other day on like how I see my trauma and issues and things like that reflected around me as they're playing out and being relieved in me. Big time. Yeah, the collective is hurting and healing, and it is not a pretty process right now.
It reminds me of a quote that I heard as you were talking, Daniela, and it sticks with me all the time. It's like there's no one out there. It's all just a bunch of me cleverly disguised as you.
That, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it.
We were having that conversation last night. Stephen Avra and we were talking about. I had brought up this idea of bringing out these ideals in ourselves. So like we have someone that we admire. So someone that I have enjoyed listening to is Matthew McConaughey with his book Green Lights. So like if there are qualities about him that I like, then there it's an image that I've already created inside of my mind, something that I've already idealized, something that I've created. And so I don't have to be him necessarily. I just have to bring out those qualities that I enjoy, that I have created in my mind, and bring those out of me. And so in that same sense of like you are me and I am you, and like this sense of like everything that's around us is just something that we've created in our mind already. And we can start to play with those creations, those concepts that we've created, bring them out in different ways, play with how we've created them, and see ourselves in the world in just a different light.
What I want to say about that is that, well, first of all, I have to quote the Beatles: I am you and you are me and we are all together. And then the other part is, out of being that, there, I love, Elias, that you brought up how we created those stories. And so when we own that fully, we can own the part that we're the ones that created that trap of self-loathing, and even look at the approach to self-loathing. We can easily create it as, oh, I did that. Not I'm stuck here, but I did that. This is the way it looked. Maybe this is how it served me. If you want to ask the why, here's what I found. When I asked why it's here and why this and that, I want to say at this point, yes, I was right there with it and I felt it and it was suffering. And then I don't know that it's useful. I guess to know that you're strong enough to feel it, whatever it is, because there was a part of me that was just, yeah, let's bring it on. I'm ready to feel whatever it is, and that's fine. And then it's like kind of stuck, kind of like, I don't know how to get out of this. So it's time to ask a different question, but I don't know what it is because I'm stuck, because that story of stuck is still there. And so it's useful to have other questions ready, maybe. I didn't have them ready for years.
Yeah, that's why talking to each other is so helpful. Being the infinite universe, we've all experienced these traumas, right? We all have these feelings of guilt and shame and self-loathing, and, to different degrees, of course. But having Avra mention how she may feel about it could give me a whole new perspective on my own suffering and my own experience. And I'd be like, oh, yeah, that's right. And like you said, maybe it's helpful, maybe it isn't. And not necessarily the question, what I'm trying to do right now to kind of give myself that little boost when I don't know what to do is just, I ask myself, what's the core emotion here? What am I feeling? And then I say, I'm walking around like a crazy person, just saying out loud to myself, I let go of this shame. I appreciate what it's taught me. I let go of the shame that I carry around that. And just constantly the practice of redirecting my thoughts to not get caught in the pattern of, you're stupid. What the fuck were you even thinking? Like, God, you're so embarrassing. I'm now like, okay, well, I don't like how that made me feel. I don't think my friends liked how that made them feel. How about next time I just take a little bit slower? I do this, like just kind of redirecting the thoughts into something else. And I hope eventually the right questions will come up or the right things will come up, and then it stops being that repetitive thought.
Yeah. And so being in this conversation and not knowing how to say it makes it sound like I'm saying, don't go there. No, you're going to go there. We're all going to go through that process. However we go through that process, it's just, I know at this point that for me and for all of you guys, I guess, but but I wouldn't know it if I didn't know it for me. So just that at this time, it's a signal to find a new question or a new place. And I think you're doing that too, in however way you're doing it. I don't know. I think there is layers of process. and that we're going through different parts of it for different things. And it's all wrapped up, could be all wrapped up in the trauma. That's what we say at this point. We don't know. You know what? I'm reminded right now of Elias's card, because that one is showing just this. I think he's a soldier too, but he's like the leader. He's like owning being the leader. He's allowing his army to do what there is to do, but he's the one responsible for all of it. And he's standing in the done deal of victory. Yeah, I just really love that power in that card. And now that I'm on the cards, I guess I'll go back to the Four of Cups. What I noticed in this was three was represented in here several times. Well, there's the three women, obviously, and then there's the six pillars that were mentioned. That's number three, and then there's the three depictions above. And so altogether, that's 9 anyway, and that's complete. But it's also has its own balance. And I do love the contrast that you brought up with it, Stephen, because she is in the middle. She is listening to both extremes. And that's the political. This is like grieving the political issues right now, because that's on my mind. And there's all the tears. But there's a beautiful blue waters and unconscious meeting the light in the back. So that's the promise that we reach toward. Anyway, that's the whole thing for me. But it was just really interesting that I saw more threes than I did four in the depiction. Really, just the cup standing out as that foundation, as she said, and balance. And the colors were balancing too. And then, the soldado. It's just like, really? I don't know what to say about him, other than that's the way we are when we try to do everything on our own. He doesn't have any support. He doesn't have anything. We don't even have ourselves if we don't have others.
I hadn't thought about the soldier. I hadn't thought about him being in solitude. That's kind of an interesting take on it. The way I was seeing the soldier was like he's following the commands of somebody else. Like he doesn't have his own voice. He's under the orders of someone. And I think that's something that it's an interesting dynamic that we see play out in our culture, is that so often we're following the voice of somebody else. We're following what our parents said or what whoever it might be. And that's kind of what I see in the Four of Cups, is that you have these three ladies, and the one in the middle, she seems sad, and there's two voices speaking to her. And I think you could see this in different ways. One, maybe she's acted on her own voice too much. And these women are saying, hey, here's some more advice for you. Or she's listening to these voices, and they're confusing her, and they don't feel like her own. And so she feels wilted and overpowered. And so she's kind of coming to this point of, I need to find my own voice. And I think there's a balance that needs to happen there of who am I? Who is my voice? What is my voice? And can I have the ability to listen to others and recognize what truth needs to come through me through the voices of others? And I think with the Nine of Cups, or the Nine of Wands, that commanding soldier, he's very much finding his own voice and leading and allowing other people to follow him. And I think there's a time to lead and a time to follow. And I think that balance is an important part of who we are and interacting with each other in communities.
Yeah, once again, obviously they are speaking to her. And for me, the first representation was listening, but now I get it's because it's time for her to listen to herself. And not that she wasn't ever, but listen to the parts that she has always known. And now is the time. The Earth Keeper, I also just really, to me, it's a presence of being. That's it. It's just like at peace, at celebration, It just is. And that's the constants of Earth as I see Earth, Mother. Queen of Pentacles, I'm unfamiliar with, but I did get the connection that was mentioned to the looking down and looking to foundation and balance again of his 2 feet on the ground.
The Earthkeeper was interesting for me because
yeah, mm-hmm.
It brings it back to this idea that we were talking about earlier of the house. We mentioned the pillars in the Four of Cups and that foundation and our house, our body being our house. And for me, it brings me back to the scripture that I had from my religion growing up. It talks about being given a dominion in this life. Like we have dominion. We are overseeing some element of the earth, of this physical life. And in some ways that dominion is our own body. Last night we were talking about like the way that I've seen my own body is that I've seen it. At one point I had this existential crisis for a moment where I was like, I'm not my body. Like this body's not me. This body has its own intelligence. There's something else outside of me that this body is. And I am just like this blip of consciousness that gets to ride inside of this body and experience all the other intelligence that's occurring inside of it. And so for me, this body is my dominion at the moment, but at the same time, part of that dominion is not dominating this body. It's not mastering this body, not being a, what do you call it? Like a commander, like forcing my body to do what I want it to do. It's listening to it. It's being like, as I see it, it's almost like a pet that I get to be inside of. If I'm mistreating the pet, then it's going to shy away from me. But if I listen to it and I interact with it in the right manners, then it's going to reward me with a beautiful life. And so I think in a lot of ways, what I see with this Earthkeeper card is that dominion that we have over this physical life form at this moment and all of our interactions that we have in life. How are we interacting with that? How are we being good stewards? I think that's the word I was looking for earlier. How are we being good stewards over this dominion?
Yes.
Can we listen to the life that's been given, and also so that we're also listened to in return?
I thought exactly of the same thing, Elias, when with the Earthkeeper is of Stephen's house and Daniela's initial conversation. It all tied it back to the oneness, because we are the earth, we are the body, we are the physical as well as the spiritual, and every voice that we hear is our own voice, and every bit of advice that we give to others, we're giving to ourselves. So it's like we're always just talking to ourselves and listening to ourselves. This is why I'm so like interested in where my disconnect is with the powers, the people in power. Like, where am I controlling myself? Where am I being a dictator or a tyrant? And, where am I neglecting myself? Because it's all like the within affects the without because we're one.
Yes, the connection of the Earth Keeper to ourselves as our body because we're of the earth. I love that. But it's also blended with the listening that I was talking about, because you mentioned the layer of listening to what your body needs, but even to the ailments, not just what it needs, but to the ailments as they come. And what is that ailment? The first thing we want to do is resist it or wish it away, or, I don't need you, or whatever that is, rejection. And yet it is the path to being here fully on the planet. And with that, I bring in the spirit that we are, because our bodies are carrying this spirit. And speaking earlier of like, it is being a part of God. You all said it in a different way, and I just say it completely, that we're all a part of God, and that God, however we relate to God, as a being, not or an entity. Doesn't have to be a person as far as we know, but that, let's just say, the creator. That's what's beautiful about the shamanic. It's calling God the creator. It is for me. And then the creator created us as creators, and that we are one with God. So then we're all gods. So then how can we not be each other? And I really love to say that we're sparks of God. We're chispas.
I
We're
love that.
sparks of God. And so we're nothing but light.
Mm.
And in the light, I think of decision and choice as different or distinct, to where decisions are like quicker and in the moment and throughout the day. And choice is for me reserved to like big things. Like it's a big deal. Choose this guy or that guy in relationship. Loving both. Which do I choose? Next decision. Children or no children? Anyway, just choices that take consideration. The decisions take discerning, and but it's quicker. But it's almost like you know what it is and you decide. And the reason I bring it up like that, because I'm political today, it's, are we choosing the guy that's there? And I went, no, immediately, no, I do not. But I can choose that he's there. I can choose that he is because he is, and that's all we can do, is be in the moment of now, that's what's so right now, and let it be, and hold the space for the light to shine and allow to happen what we have in our hearts as a protection for the earth and all of us that are on here.
It's funny you said, I'm looking at Daniela's tiny little screen. I was like, is that Olaf? And and then someone was like, let it be. I was like, oh wait, almost. I love that you said that because I just said not the Olaf part. You were talking about the illness part because I just said that to Elias. A great way to get present is to get yourself one of them illnesses, like chronic illnesses,
Yeah.
because that really puts you in your body and that really connects you to. That's unfortunately where you feel, like Daniela has said before, makes you feel closer to God.
Yeah. Actually, Solma, to touch on what you were saying, I've believed this way for a lot recently, but in conversations in like the last month or two, my cousin came over. We were talking about a lot of big world things and, quantum entanglement and all these other spiritual pseudoscience aspects. And to me, God is undeniable. God absolutely exists. It's like gravity, it's like the color blue, it's like you. You absolutely exist. You are undeniable. The question is, how do you perceive it? Like you said, you can believe that it's an individual entity, like a person or something, but to me, I don't know if we were intentionally created. I personally think that God was just the first consciousness and everything else was inevitably going to happen. And that's just our guide. That's the head of the snake, right? The go, flying through space or whatever. And so it's just a question of whether or not we believe this spirit, source, God, entity, Godverse, whatever you want to call them, whether or not they're intentionally conscious, whether or not they're intentionally going to do things, or if they just allow it to be. And so, because I've had this conversation with a lot of people. It's like the color blue, the sky is blue, right? We can all agree on this. Do we all agree that we see it the same? Do we all like, we know for a fact that different different cones will receive colors differently, but we agree that wavelength has been decidedly dubbed blue. To me, the pattern of consciousness, the Fibonacci sequence that you see, that's God. God is the pattern of existence. God is the ability to exist. And I know that also what you're saying about like the word God has such an unfortunate negative connotation, largely in part because of the Christians who I have personal beef with, but but I
Abraham.
have like let go of my hatred for the word, or like my
Yeah.
dislike. Because to me, it's just easy, it's simple, it's universal, and it's part of me is I'm taking that back from you doofuses because you do not own the monopoly on the G word and God, quite frankly. Like you can't tell me that it's a man in the sky because that's something to me, I'm like, that's something that I would explain to a preschooler. You have to be more advanced than that. You have to believe God is just as much, like you said, infinite. It's us. Did you watch Inside Out?
Yes.
Yes, I love those movies.
Yes. To me, I was like, this is a documentary. It's a documentary. I love
Mm.
Disney documentaries. But there's
Forgot
each
about it.
individual soul is its own individual entity. I do think that we have one cell or one electron or one originating focal point that maybe is the head of the snake, right? The tip, the actual decider of the direction. But anyone that's ever done anything on any kind of locomotive engine, on any kind of ship, on anything, that you can't just decide where to go and it happens. You need that momentum. You need a force pushing you. You need other people carrying you to do these things. I can turn the wheel of my car, but without fuel in the engine and the car actually moving, it's not going anywhere. So kind of in that way, like I do think God is its own individual entity, the first consciousness, the first awareness, but without the rest of us who are also God is just nothingness, looking around at nothingness, without that push, without that drive, without that momentum, which is, I think, why we exist and why we have that free will and autonomy, because God has that themselves. And they're like, I get that we all have the right to this, but ultimately, I decide where we're going to go. I want to survive, right? Like all of us do. So I'm going to do what ultimately keeps all of existence surviving and existing. And it's up to us to decide how we exist, how humanity survives. It's for us to decide, do we want to do this? Not to touch too much on politics, but the universe, that the world is going to end, it's undeniable. Science says it. The sun's going to blow up in 5 billion years, right? Allegedly, there's this Armageddon coming. There's all this stuff that's coming. So we say, and we all agree that eventually there is an end to it. We can get to that same end kicking and screaming and fighting each other along the way. We've all been on road trips with kids, or we've been the kids that have done that. Or we can decide to kind of make it a more pleasant experience and work together and try to get there in a way that when we get to the end, we're like, yes, this is the peak of the hike. This is where we're going. Now we get to sit here and enjoy it and appreciate and be part of it. It's, I don't know, that ramble over.
Mm.
Look, that's so good. I love that you talked about the unconscious, I mean the conscious part of God,
Mhm.
because it gave me just the sense of like, well, God as consciousness, well, existing, right? Being.
Mhm.
I like to think I think of that probably is closer than entity for me.
Mhm.
So God is this being.
Mhm.
Like that's all.
Just
That's
existing,
all.
wanting
Yeah.
to survive.
But 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 different than existing and different than surviving. Because surviving is effort and existing almost pointless. But consciousness, ooh, I forgot this part or until now. It's like whenever they talk about quantum physics, that the observer shows up.
Uh-huh.
What was God observing? He needed he
Yes.
needed duplication to self-reflect
Mm.
or whatever, like there was a need for more. Somehow For him, for others, no. I mean, what if there's just no fun without somebody else?
Mm.
I don't know. And probably being was enough. He just, I don't know. He was guided somehow to that there was more. And there is more. And so like right now, for these times that we're in the midst of it, I've gotten to see it get to where it is. Yes, the predictions are coming around, and it isn't about doom for me. It is about get your shit together. That's preparing. And when you do that, or when you be that, that's you creating the environment around you as the same. And when that happens, I'm doing my job. And it's an opening also for manifestation because we're being here as who we were meant to for ourselves and for others. This is why I'm here.
And could I just go back to that, the more, being in the more, and I think like you said, it's these systems and these things that have not served us for so long are collapsing and falling apart, and we are creating the more. Like you said, we are manifesting what that more is going to be. What's that going to look like when the systems collapse and no one has a basis for what to hold on to in reality? We have that more. We are in tune with that more, and people are starting to wake up for that, I think. Our understanding is evolving. Like the word God. The word is the same, and yet our understanding of that is evolving past these constraining, controlling religious beliefs, that have been like drilled into our understanding of reality for so many of us. We're starting to evolve that understanding of no, God is more than that. God is not what you claim to be. It's what I feel and I see, and it is all around me. It cannot be defined or understood completely
Yeah.
by us. Yeah. And yet
Yeah,
we
because
are
yeah.
evolving our understanding.
We are evolving in our understanding. We already have, even when you
Yeah.
mentioned blue is blue, there was a time when what I guess blue and red and yellow were the only things that we could recognize. We evolved to see other colors.
Yes.
And oh, that makes me think of that movie with Robin Williams, which is about afterlife, and I don't remember the name of it, but and I've seen this even written many times that when you pass, the colors are brighter than they've ever been. And it just occurred to me that's probably part of it is that we think, even as artists, that we see colors and that they're, so amazing and yet there's more. And
Oof,
we don't know
yeah.
what that is. We haven't evolved to that either. And it is only a representation of how limitless we are. And and we can't know. And I love the word beyond, and that you're going with beyond, or that Avra was describing it as beyond the quantum. I don't know. That's where it's my job to live there. And do I do it? No, I can only be it. The
Mm.
doing gets in there somehow anyway. And the doing is access too, because I have been practicing of like whatever I'm doing, going ahead and incorporate yoga into it. Like whether I'm doing the dishes or whether I'm mop the floor, whether I am walking from one end of the property to the other and back. It's like I'm shifting and moving. And if it was videoed, it looks really silly, but it's ways to get my body moving from not just sitting in front of Zoom
Yeah.
or sitting and reading or sitting and, so much sitting, just
Mm.
being alive.
And I'll also add from a colorblind person. Yeah, yeah, it's eye-opening looking into that a little bit more, just how different we all see the world. And I can't put the name to it or even really kind of guide you where to look, but there is a group of people, I believe it's African or Middle Eastern,
The
who
Himba
have,
people.
yeah, who just kind of like they didn't really have that understanding of the color blue for so long. And
Yeah.
isn't that
They
so
only have
wild?
4 colors.
Four.
So blue is a shade of green. Like they're in the same family, which
Okay.
if we decided to put more little thresholds in the color spectrum, we'd have a million more colors too, you know? But yeah, blue doesn't exist for them. It's a shade of green or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
Maybe the
could see
color of
that
the ocean maybe is, I don't know,
the
but
jungle colors
yeah.
would be kind of predominantly like yellow and green, I would think, right? And so
Yeah.
that kind of derivative of blue, you would see like a combination of just green and yellow instead of the blue, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also believe, hold on. I was looking this up because I wanted to mention on that too, because you said
Ah,
red, yellow, blue.
yeah.
That yellow and white are all white is some shades of yellow. So like they just separate their
Oh,
colors into four areas and everything kind of falls into those little their sides of the spectrum. They put their little thresholds, their markers where they want it, and it's very different from us, which
yeah.
is
Oh, okay.
just fascinating. Yeah.
So fascinating. Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, when
They had,
babies are born, they can't see in color. They don't have that hasn't developed yet, so they only see in black and white, which I think has so much to do with how we are supposed to go through this journey in a very specific way. You can only see so far ahead of you when you're first born, and you can't see colors, I think, until several weeks after you've already opened your eyes and experienced the world, which is fascinating to think about how that affects our development.
yeah, I've never heard that one. I've studied babies and birth and newborn, and I didn't know that part. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people colors don't exist. Colors aren't, well, because everything's a construct, right? But on top of that, I'm just constantly saying, no, colors don't exist. Colors aren't real. Like you're seeing it this way, but it's it's the story that you're making up in here. I say a lot to my nieces to kind of keep them questioning everything. I love talking to kids because they're so, first of all, they just recently came from God. They're the freshest from spirit or source. So they come with all that knowledge. And like the Buddhists say, we really would do well in listening to them more. My niece was talking about how she'd be a better president than our current person. And I told her, I genuinely believe you'd be a better president than every single person we've ever had. You have no idea how much adults complicate things. And we need your simplicity. We need your energy. I was like, baby, I'm sorry that the world is how it is right now. I was like, but we're going to do our best to take good care of it, to hand it off to you. And then you'll do your best to take good care of it so you can hand it off to the next generation. That's what we're here for. That's what we're doing. And I don't know, it's lovely to hear so many people all over the place talking about stuff like this, about how, I don't know, God is real, but it's not the way that we all learned, you know?
And what you said about the color that you tell them there's no real colors, or however you said it. I like to say that about the truth.
Yeah.
Because,
Absolutely.
facts are facts, but
True.
the truth, again, it's perspective.
Yes.
And context, and you said construct. Yeah. All of that.
And just understanding too, like if I say my mom's upset, one of my siblings might think she's sad. One of my siblings might think she's angry. One of my siblings might just think that, I don't know, she's just having whatever it may be. But
something different.
If we don't ask a lot of clarifying questions and we just go with what we're thinking and believing, we're choosing that reality, of course, but that person may have meant something completely different. Because I've started to find myself in conversations, I'm like, I think I'm being completely misunderstood. And I'll ask them, like, how did you understand what I just said? It really does throw other people off. They're like, what do you mean? How do I understand? I'm like, I just said this, but I'm trying to communicate this, and I feel like we're not communicating. And it's a little weird to first do, but it actually keeps the conversation going really well. And in my experience, anyone I've done this with, like, they really appreciate the, like, oh, I didn't even think that you could think of it that way. And I was like, yeah, I'm having a completely different understanding over here from what you're saying. So let's try and meet more in the middle, because we'll never fully, completely agree on what we're saying, but it's all about perspective. So the truth is the truth is there's no objective truth. Yeah.
It's all how we play in the illusion, right? Collectively, separately. It's just how we play, how we see things.
Yeah. Yay for playing.
Well, one of the fun things is like objective truth is like this is objective. This is an object. This exists, and that's about all we can really say about it. We can, get a little bit further. Maybe it's white, it's round, whatever. But the way that you guys are going to see it and the way that I'm seeing it are going to be two completely different viewpoints. And I think in some ways you're going to have your own subjective truth, and your subjective truth is your objective truth for you. Like it is completely true for you and what exists in your mind. And I love that what you're saying about that bringing curiosity of how is somebody perceiving something? What's their perspective? It gets down to the root of the truth that somebody's holding on to. What is it that they are actually seeing? And what is it that how has their experiences shaped their perspective on this piece of object or the thing that's going on around us?
Mm-hmm. And those are those same helpful questions that we ask of ourselves.
It's a practice.
Yes. And you get to share your practice with them.
All right. I think that's a good ending point for us because we've gotten a lot of time in there. But I love all the conversation we've got going here because it's been pretty dang amazing. Lots about truth, lots about God, lots about our foundation, a lot about just being a keeper of this earth, of this body, of what we are. So thank you all for your amazing perspectives. And anybody who's listening, bring in your own perspective on this. Let us know what you think. So
I love that it was called a keeper because I was a goalie.
there you go.
And next time, maybe I'll tell you my thoughts on God.
Ooh, there we go.
Stay tuned.
You're gonna make us beg.
All right. Thank
All right,
you.
shifties. We love you.
Bye, shifties.
Thank you for coming to the party. We love you. And see you next week. The end. Stop the recording as soon as I can find the button. Let the shift hit the fan. Let the shift hit the fan.